Aiden, a philosophy student, is on his way to college when the story begins. In class, the professor presents an intriguing final assignment. What happens to us after death, and what is our purpose on Earth? The professor emphasizes that the students' futures are tied to their answers, so they must write carefully and with deep thought. After class, Aiden heads to his bicycle, ready to go home, but something strange happens. A boy who looks exactly like him and is dressed the same appears. The boy warns Aiden, "Don't go to the motel," before quickly disappearing. The motel is a small hotel often found along highways, offering travelers a place to rest. Confused, Aiden tries to follow him, but the boy is already gone. When Aiden arrives home, he tells his friends about the strange encounter, but they just laugh it off, thinking he's joking. Feeling unsettled, Aiden visits his grandmother and asks her if anyone in their family has ever had mental health issues. She reassures him that there's no history of mental illness in their family, though she mentions that some relatives did suffer from diabetes and cancer. As they talk about Aiden's late grandfather, his grandmother shares a sad memory. "I miss him so much," she says. "He died because of a golf ball. If only he hadn't gone into the water to retrieve it, he wouldn't have drowned." Just then, Aiden receives a strange phone call. The voice on the other end asks for his middle name, and after Aiden gives it, the caller hangs up. The mystery of who called will unfold later in the story. Like most people, Aiden is tempted to do exactly what he was warned not to. Despite the lookalikes' warning, Aiden goes to the motel. There, he's surprised to run into his ex-girlfriend, Lauren, who now works as a receptionist, a fact he had no idea about. Aiden, still shaken from the strange encounter, asks Lauren if he's ever been to the motel before, or if someone who looks just like him has visited. Lauren, puzzled by the question, doesn't understand why he's asking. Before they can talk more, the motel's manager shows up, and Aiden quickly excuses himself, feeling uncomfortable. A bit later, Lauren comes outside, and Aiden takes her to a nearby hotel. There, he explains what happened earlier that morning, telling her about the boy who looked exactly like him and the warning to avoid the motel. Lauren listens, but she's skeptical, finding the whole story odd. She tells Aiden that she's never seen anyone who resembles him, and even if someone did, why would they warn him to stay away? As they're talking, a sudden loud noise comes from the kitchen, startling them both. They hear something fall, but the reason behind the sound remains a mystery for now. After their conversation, Aiden offers Lauren a ride home, and she accepts. While driving, disaster strikes. Their car crashes. Tragically, Lauren dies in the accident, but Aiden survives, miraculously escaping serious injury. Aiden is rushed to the hospital, where he is soon visited by two policemen. They inform him that Lauren's family believes he caused the accident deliberately and has accused him of murder. The officers tell Aiden he won't see a lawyer for 3 days, and until then, he is not allowed to leave the hospital. One of the officers threatens him, saying, "If you try to leave, we'll break your face." While recovering, Aiden meets another patient in the hospital who delivers a strange message. The patient, as if knowing something about Aiden's situation, tells him to go back to the motel. "Go to room 41, the patient instructs. "In the bathroom, under the floor, there's a hole. Go inside it." Aiden is stunned by the eeriness of the message, unsure of how this patient could know about the motel. Determined to uncover the truth, Aiden escapes from the hospital, slipping past the staff unnoticed. He heads straight back to the motel. Upon arrival, he rents a room, and later that night, he sneaks into room 41. Just as the patient described, he goes to the bathroom and begins searching the floor. Soon, he finds a large hole beneath the tiles. Without hesitation, Aiden climbs in, descending into the unknown. After some time, Aiden steps out of the motel and is shocked to see another version of himself, along with Lauren, right in front of him. He quickly realizes that the hole he went through allows him to travel through time, and he's now 12 hours in the past. To avoid confusion, we'll refer to this new Aiden as Aiden 1. Determined to understand what's going on, Aiden follows Aiden 1 and Lauren 1 as they make their way to the hotel. At the hotel, Aiden bumps into his philosophy professor, who tells him that some other professors will soon visit his room to discuss scientific topics. Aiden, distracted, brushes past this conversation and accidentally collides with a waiter, causing glassware to crash onto the floor. This noise grabs the attention of Aiden 1 and Lauren 1, and at this moment, the noise they heard from the kitchen earlier was caused by his own actions, meaning he had unknowingly crossed paths with his past self. After this, Lauren 1 casually asks Aiden 1 how his grandmother is doing, and he reassures her, saying, "She's fine and misses you a lot." After leaving the hotel, Aiden 1 offers Lauren 1 a lift home, and they head off together in the car. Meanwhile, Aiden, determined to prevent the accident, runs into the middle of the road, hoping to stop them. When Lauren 1 sees someone suddenly appear in the street, she swerves to avoid him. This causes the car to lose control, and the accident that kills Lauren happens. Aiden realizes in horror that he was the one who caused the accident all along. Shocked and Devastated, Aiden struggles to comprehend what he's just witnessed. Desperate to fix everything, Aiden returns to room 41 of the motel. Inside, he finds a hospital patient again, but this time the patient has slit his wrists. Panicking, Aiden calls for an ambulance, realizing that the patient was admitted to the hospital because of him. After making the call, Aiden decides to go back into the hole, hoping to travel even further into the past and change things once more. Emerging from the hole, Aiden rushes to his home and frantically tells his friends everything. He explains that in a few hours, both he and Lauren will be in a car accident caused by his own actions, and Lauren will die. But despite his urgency, his friends refuse to believe a word of it, dismissing his story as impossible. To prove that he's telling the truth, Aiden challenges his friends by asking them to make a phone call to him. When they do, something unexpected happens. The call doesn't reach Aiden, but instead goes to another Aiden, the one currently at the hospital with his grandmother. To confirm it's really him answering, Aiden asks for the other Aiden's middle name. This is the moment that connects everything. It turns out that when we first heard Aiden giving his middle name over the phone at the beginning of the story, it was his friend making that call to the other Aiden in the hospital. Aiden's friends, however, still refuse to believe him, thinking it's all an elaborate joke. Determined, Aiden decides to go back once again to try and prevent the accident. Later that night, as he stands by the road to intervene, he's shocked to see Aiden 1 already there, trying to stop the accident himself. For clarity, we'll continue calling this version Aiden 1, as after the crash involving Aiden 1 and Lauren 1, Aiden 1 must have gone to the hospital, learned about the time-traveling hole, and then returned to the past in a similar effort to prevent the accident, just like Aiden. Realizing what's happening, Aiden knows he has to stop Aiden 1 from interfering. He rushes forward and pushes Aiden 1 out of the way, then punches him, knocking him unconscious. However, despite his efforts, the accident happens again. The exact reason for the accident is unclear, but it's possible that the punch Aiden 1 felt somehow affected Aiden as well, causing confusion or imbalance. Another theory is that Aiden 1 standing in the middle of the road again disturbed the vehicle, leading to the crash. The movie leaves this open to interpretation, and the cause of the accident isn't fully explained. Whether the punch created some kind of ripple effect or Aiden 1's presence triggered the imbalance, it's unclear. This mysterious twist adds layers to the narrative, leaving the audience to speculate on what exactly caused the final accident. Feel free to share your thoughts and theories in the comments. After the accident, Aiden desperately takes Lauren 2 to the same hole he used for time travel, hoping to save her. However, only Aiden emerges from the other side, and Lauren's body vanishes within the hole. It becomes clear that perhaps time travel doesn't work for dead bodies. Feeling shaken, Aiden remembers what his professor had said back at the hotel about a scientific discussion at his house, and he decides to go there hoping to find answers. When Aiden arrives at the professor's home, he explains to the group that he's writing a novel about time travel. In his novel, a boy uses a black hole to travel into the past, where he tries to prevent a tragic accident but ultimately fails. The professors, intrigued by the story, begin discussing the parallel universe theory. According to this theory, if someone were to travel through time, they wouldn't stay in the same timeline. They would actually create a new parallel timeline in space. Each time someone time travels, new timelines are created, and in every timeline, a different version of the traveler already exists. They explain that it's impossible to change one's own future, but it is possible to influence the future of another version of oneself in a parallel timeline. Hearing this, Aiden starts to realize the true nature of his situation. He begins to understand that everything that has happened so far, his encounters with the other Aiden, the warnings, and the accidents, wasn't random. He is currently living in a parallel timeline, having traveled to the past through the black hole. When his other self warned him not to go to the motel, it wasn't just a coincidence. That version of Aiden, who came from the present, was trying to influence him to prevent the accident, just like Aiden is now trying to do. The professor further explains that if the novel's boy wants to change the future of his parallel self, he must first alter something significant, something deeply connected to his identity. By indirectly influencing that one critical element, he might be able to reshape the future of the other version of himself. After meeting with the professor, Aiden goes to a shop, but before he can even process what he's learned, the police catch up with him and rough him up. They're furious because Aiden wasn't supposed to leave the hospital. However, Aiden explains that he's not the same Aiden who escaped earlier. This version is from a different timeline. When the officer accuses him of killing Lauren, Aiden insists that he's trying to save her. Desperate to make sense of the situation, Aiden tells the officer about his experience with time travel, explaining that there are multiple versions of himself wandering around. The officer scoffs at the story and challenges Aiden, saying, "If you can time travel, then why don't you just go back and stop us from arresting you?" Just as the officer finishes, a siren blares in the distance. Aiden smirks, realizing the irony. Another version of himself must have heard this very suggestion and come to rescue him from the future or an alternate timeline. The police quickly react, tying Aiden to a pillar along alongside a known criminal. As Aiden looks around, he notices something: a hacksaw hidden beneath a nearby dustbin. He uses the hacksaw to free himself from the handcuffs and begins his escape. The police give chase, but Aiden manages to stay ahead, slipping through alleyways and dodging their pursuit. Eventually, Aiden finds refuge in a room where, to his surprise, he spots another hacksaw. Using it, he cuts through the remaining handcuffs, fully freeing himself. As he considers his next move, a plan begins to form in his mind. He takes the hacksaw with him and sneaks into the police station. There, he hides the hacksaw under the same dustbin, ensuring that his past self would later find it. In a clever twist, Aiden realizes that his entire escape was orchestrated by his own actions. He had planted the hacksaw that saved him. After escaping from the police, Aiden heads to the Olympia Hotel. There, he spots the hospital patient, now dressed in a sharp suit, looking like a completely different person. The patient doesn't recognize Aiden at all. Curious, Aiden asks him what he does for a living, and the man replies that he's a lawyer. Hearing this, Aiden realizes something profound. By influencing the past, he had changed this version of the patient for the better. The man who had once been lost and troubled was now successful. This revelation gives Aiden hope. He can change the future for his own version too. With this newfound clarity, Aiden decides to visit his grandmother. When he meets her, she is still grieving over the loss of her husband, Aiden's grandfather. She wistfully remarks, "I wish he hadn't gone into the water to retrieve that golf ball. He might still be alive today." Feeling a deeper connection to his past, Aiden visits his grandfather's grave and then stops by his old family home, reflecting on the life he's known. Determined to use the time travel hole to change things, Aiden returns to the motel. He slips back into the past once more, and when he arrives, he finds the same hospital patient in the room. As they talk, the motel manager unexpectedly enters, so both Aiden and the patient hide in the bathroom. While hiding, Aiden confronts the patient, saying, "I've seen your best version. You must know how you change things. Tell me how you did it." The patient, calm and collected, responds, "I guided my other self on the right path, influenced him toward the journey that led to a better future." As the manager knocks on the bathroom door, creating pressure for them to act, Aiden and the patient decide to escape through the hole once again. They disappear into the past before the manager can reach them. Aiden begins to piece everything together, recalling what both the professor and the patient had said. He realizes that to truly change the future, he needs to influence a key event or person in his life, something deeply connected to him. For Aiden, that pivotal point may be tied to his grandfather, or possibly to his grandmother's happiness, as she's still haunted by her husband's tragic death. Driven by this realization, Aiden repeatedly dives in and out of the time-traveling hole, determined to get further back than the 12-hour limit he's faced so far. He spends countless journeys traveling through time, seeing beautiful moments he shared with Lauren and revisiting memories that meant the most to him. After what feels like thousands of attempts, he finally breaks through the limitations and reaches the time when his grandfather was alive. Aiden hitches a ride to the city with his grandfather, who unknowingly picks him up. When they arrive at his grandfather's house, Aiden is thrilled to see his grandmother alive and well, the two sharing a moment before heading off to the city together. Once they arrive, Aiden gives his grandfather a small gift and says, "Open this tomorrow. It's really important." His grandfather, curious but trusting, agrees. The next day, while playing golf, his grandfather hits the ball into the water, just as Aiden knew would happen. Preparing to wade into the water to retrieve it, his grandfather takes off his pants but then feels something in his pocket. Checking inside, he finds the gift Aiden had given him the day before. It's a new golf ball. Instead of going into the water to fetch the lost ball, he decides to use the one Aiden gave him, ultimately saving his life. In the next scene, we see Aiden's grandmother in the hospital, but this time she's not alone. Her husband, Aiden's grandfather, is sitting beside her, alive and well. Aiden had succeeded in changing the course of history, saving his grandfather from the fatal accident. Soon, a shocking revelation unfolds. The manager of the motel is none other than an older version of Aiden himself. It turns out that Aiden, after changing his grandfather's fate, had to stay in this timeline, and over time, he took on the role of motel manager. This older Aiden knew the importance of guiding his younger self through the same journey, ensuring he could fix the past. It's why old Aiden had originally told young Aiden not to go to the motel. He was setting the entire chain of events in motion. Later, old Aiden meets the young version of himself in this timeline, giving him the same advice: go to the motel. This time, however, when young Aiden meets Lauren, they walk back to her house together instead of driving, which prevents the tragic car accident that claimed Lauren's life in the original timeline. Old Aiden watches this unfold, filled with happiness, knowing that this version of Aiden and Lauren will have a a different future. With this, the movie reaches its happy conclusion. In this timeline, Aiden successfully influences the past and changes the future, saving both his grandfather and Lauren. But as the narrator suggests, this is just one of many timelines. In others, the accident still happens, and Lauren's death is unavoidable. This theory adds a bittersweet layer to the film's happy ending. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. Share your thoughts or theories in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next explanation video. Thanks for watching, friends.